fired up. Are you guys fired up too?
Yes.
All right. So the title of my lesson this morning is A Worthy Life. To live a worthy life is a noble goal, right?
Yeah.
To accomplish something great in this life. For your community, for the world, even for your family, to have lived a worthy life and have accomplished something. I'd like to say that on my deathbed, that I lived a worthy life. I'd like to have it in my conscience. To be honest, I'd like people to say that about me too. That guy lived a worthy life. Amen. Now, of course, I don't live my life so people will say that about me. That's not what I'm looking for here. But to accomplish something, you know, to not have been a meaningless existence, a useless existence. To accomplish something good, right? Yep. So there's some people in history, in their life today, that have done some worthy things, you know. They've accomplished some stuff, some neat things. LeBron James, he's a worthy basketball player, right? Everybody knows about LeBron James. Worthy guy. Football, kind of a cool sport. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, right? These are some worthy football players that other people that watch football, like not me, like I found it on the internet. In music, right? The music industry. I love music. I do. You got the rappers. You got Tupac and Eminem. Tupac? Bro, you got Tupac. What up? Yeah, right? What do you guys call it? These guys apparently, according to some people, have worthy existence as rappers. Oh, bro! Is rap even music? No. It's like the most worthy. All right, rock and roll. Metallica. Oh yeah. These guys are worthy. People would show up to watch these guys sing. Eminem, I don't know. I heard he's pretty good. I heard the guy. Bruno Mars draws massive crowds. He filled up the stadium thing over there in Oahu. Right? He did good, man. The guy, people show up. He's worthy. A musician. People show up. Not me, people show up. Michael Jordan, though, huh? Yeah. He's worthy as a basketball player, but nobody talks about him too much anymore. He was worthy 10 years ago. 20 years ago? Is he still going to be worthy? I don't know. I mean, he's good. He's definitely good. But 10 years ago, he was like talked about, you know. They call him the GOAT, right? Greatest of all time. Joe Montana, younger people probably don't even know who that is. 20 years ago, that guy was the greatest of all time. He used to be the GOAT. Yeah. But as history progresses, as time goes on, these people get less and less noteworthy. Wow, that's true. 10 years from now, will anyone even know who Eminem is? I hope not, but they might. Megadeth and Metallica, when I was growing up, now, barely people in the nightclub. These guys. 50 years from now, will anybody even know who Bruno Mars is? Wow. Will even know who he is? I don't know, it's hard to say. These are just entertainers, right? These are people that we hear about, we see and hear, wow, this is cool. We like to watch them perform, but there are other people that have done noteworthy things for humankind that lived a lot longer ago. The Wright brothers got the first airplane up in the sky. But they lived quite a while ago. And when you fly on an airplane, do you even remember or think about the Wright brothers? I mean, there evidence of them being there is on the plane you're flying, right? You got Thomas Edison. Invented the light bulb. But do you even think about Thomas Edison when you flip off a light switch or if it burns out? I mean, do you think about Thomas Edison, the person? I don't know. These guys entertained us. These guys have provided things for our society that are awesome. There's all kinds of scientists and modern medicine and things that America has come through the Industrial Revolution. Lots of noteworthy people did lots of noteworthy things. But as history progresses from generation to generation, start to fade. They start to fade, their noteworthiness start to fade. So today, though, we're going to read part of a letter to an amazing church. Not unlike this church, the church in Philippi. They were living a worthy life. And 2,000 years later, we're still talking about them and imitating them. That, to me, is a lot more noteworthy than rap music or rock music or anything else. And that's what I want to imitate. Because it would be awesome to invent something like a cure for cancer. It'd be awesome to invent a renewable energy. You know what I mean? We don't have to rely on fossil fuels and have a car that just drives on like air or water or something like that. But what's noteworthy is changing the world and people's hearts and minds and souls for all of eternity. That's really a worthy life that we should strive to get to, right? Christian's life changes the course of history and impacts eternity. And that's what a worthy life is. In Philippians chapter 1, starting our reading in verse 27, the Bible says, "Whatever happens, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. Then, whether I come and see you or only hear about you in my absence, I will know that you stand firm in one spirit, contending as one man for the faith of the gospel." This is incredible. He's talking about living a worthy life, contending as if you're just one person. Living a life that's worthy, that's noteworthy. This letter to the Philippian church is actually a thank you letter for all the amazing things that the church have been doing. And so today I want to thank the Kona International Christian Church for being noteworthy.
Come on.
On paper, we're one of the most sacrificial churches financially in our weekly giving, blowing out our special missions and surpassing it this year each time. This is a noteworthy church. Amen. You guys are awesome, incredible, and I thank you that I get to have the honor of being a part of this amazing, incredible family, living a worthy life with you guys. Point number 1, though, of our lesson of living a worthy life: humble yourselves to be worthy. And continuing our reading in Philippians chapter 2, in verse 1. "If you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from His love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others." Wow. Humble yourself to be worthy. The Bible here, Paul starting off this chapter in this letter with 4 iffy statements. Right? If you have any encouragement, if you have any comfort from His love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded. All got these iffy statements here, right? And Paul knew this church. This was his family, the church of Paul. He knew them very well. And he's more like he's saying, since you have these virtues in your life, since you are this way, make my joy complete. Prove it by how you live your life. Prove it. You have these virtues, prove it by what you do. Every single thing we do as a Christian is for the benefits of other people. He started off in our chapter in verse 27, it says that contending as one man for the faith here, but not merely a collection of Christian people doing their own thing, but a unified family of God's children doing the same thing together as a family. This is an amazing concept. Each and every person doing the same thing, but unified together. So it's not apart doing our own thing. We're all unified together as a family. Everyone at the same time, putting the needs of others above the needs of themselves. You know, there's this interesting concept here of everybody doing whatever it is they're doing in their life for the, like as an individual, for the collective good of the people, right? So there's a guy named Karl Marx. He was one of the most influential philosophers in modern history. He lived in the 1800s and he wrote a book called The Communist Manifesto. He's the father of modern day communism. And from communism, from Karl Marx's teaching came socialism. And even in America today we have a new movement called democratic socialism is gaining popularity as well. So basically the idea behind communism is a classless society. There's no rich and no poor. No ownership of personal property. Everything everyone's doing individually is for the good of the collective population. Everyone working. Everyone and the pay, like even the pay, there's no large pay gaps. Like a doctor could get paid the same as a factory worker, essentially. And that so there'll be no rich and no poor. Everybody is just the same. And it sounds good, right? I mean, it sounds good on paper, right? And it even sounds biblical when you read this passage. But here's where communism gets a bit dicey, okay? And it gets a bit iffy, so to speak. Near the end of his book, in the Communist Manifesto, he calls for the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. This served as the justification for all communist revolutions around the world. So what the people did was, when there was a monarchy or a democracy or whatever was going on in the country, the workers all got together, took up arms, and took out the powers that be to forcibly implement socialism and communism around the world. 30 to 50 million people died in Russia under communism. 30 to 50 million. Mao Zedong in China implemented it. 45 million people in 4 years died. And they got up, the number got up to as high as 60 million people died overall under communism. Tens of millions more in South America and Southeast Asia died under the implementation of Karl Marx's teachings of communism and socialism. That's way more than all of the holy wars combined. That's more than both World War I and World War II combined. They killed more than the Nazis. Communists and socialists. It should be renamed the Atheist Wars. That's what it should be renamed. Because Karl Marx and his followers subsequently reject the idea of a God-centric society, and they view religion as something oppressors invented to control the masses and to give them a false hope. The entire idea of communism and its modern-day offshoots of socialism and even democratic socialism are actually biblical concepts. Satan, though, along with Marx and others like him, they took God's plan and they perverted it, and they twisted it, and they implemented something very, very evil and wicked, sending millions and millions and millions of people straight to hell. Their words. So basically what they're saying is that you're going to do something good for your fellow man, or we're going to shoot you. That's basically what their idea was. Creating injustice now for past injustices. You can't use a gun or force anyone to put the needs of the many over the needs of the individual and expect it to last. People will be over that pretty quick. Someone that goes to college for decades to become a brain surgeon is not going to do that for the wage of a factory worker at minimum wage. It's just not going to work out. They're going to be over it pretty quick. You cannot force the population to humble themselves to be worthy using a gun. You can't do that. It can't be, it can only be properly implemented through love. That's the only way. We don't fight for this as Christians with the weapons of the world. We don't force people to believe this and to put this into practice. If we do it through love, and we do it through humility, putting our needs aside for the benefit of others, then we can be counted worthy of the gospel, but we can't use a gun, a sword, or a bomb, or a threat of anything to do it. The Bible says to do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. In humility, consider everyone worth more than you. Consider everyone more important than you. What you have going on in your life, other people's lives is more important. The Bible's teaching us here. The sinful mind will respond this way. If I do that, people will take advantage of me. You're right. Check this out, though. It's hard to be taken advantage of if you're giving without expectation. It's very hard to be taken advantage of if you don't expect something back. We hold back our love. We hold back our humility because last time we did give our love, last time we were humble and we helped other people, got stabbed in the back. That's what happened the last time I did that, we tell ourselves. Someone took advantage of me. I got burned. You say. Stop expecting anything back from the humans. God is all you need. Give of yourself with no expectation. God will reward you in due time. God will reward you. I studied the Bible with lots of people over the years. Tons, hundreds probably. The number one reason that people don't want to follow God is because they love themselves more than they love other people.
Yeah.
The number one reason why people became Christians and decided to stop becoming Christians is because they love themselves more than they love the other Christians.
Yeah.
They left because they don't love people. The idolatry of me, the idolatry of self is the number one sin I've come across with people. And I've been guilty of it myself from time to time. I ain't gonna lie. You might say, it's impossible, it's too hard to put people's needs above my own needs. I got needs, and they're more important than your needs. It's impossible, I can't do it. I got needs, man. I need a new iPhone, 10,000, whatever. You might look at your neighbor sitting next to you, they're not doing it. They're not doing it. Let me tell you something here. It's, number one, it's not too hard. It can be done. Number two, it does not matter what your neighbor is doing sitting next to you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter. Now, the Bible, to be sure, the Bible is not saying here to completely disregard your needs for your life, your feelings or your desires or what you want. It doesn't say to completely disregard that. It doesn't say that at all. It says each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. It's okay to have interests. It's okay. You can have a car, own a house even. You can have a great job, and you can have some money in your savings. You can do those things. You can own a smartphone. You can go surfing or whatever it is you like to do. Go to the gym. You can go do those things. It's okay. Just make sure you're giving someone a ride to church with your car, right? Using some of your money. God doesn't even ask for all of your money, neither does the church. But use some of your money to support the needs of the church. And like I said in the beginning, this church is incredibly sacrificial. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. It's something I can definitely boast about to other churches. An example that we have here. You can use your smartphone to share scriptures with people, to follow up for Bible studies. You can use the stuff that you have, right? You can make friends with people while you're out doing your hobbies, and you can bring them to church with you. I lift up Austin and Gretchen. They're doing such a great job. Yeah, I tried to snag their little workout ministry, you know, but I only went to the gym once for like 20, 30 minutes. So I'm not too into that gym thing because I'm very active, you know. But these guys and girls are bringing people to the Bible talks. And we had at our Tuesday night Bible talk down at the coffee shop on the Lee Drive. We packed the place out. The manager came in. He was like, "Okay, what's this meeting going on here?" There was like, I don't know, we had like 20 people there probably close to. And then my house on Friday night, our house is overflowing with guests. It was so packed. There's barely room to sit down for everybody. But it's because we're putting the needs of other people above our own needs, and we're going out and putting it into practice. It's pretty amazing. In this church, we ain't commies. We're not commies, we're Christians. And we're here to help each other get to where we need to be. We're not trying to force anybody to be humble, to be loving, to be sacrificial. We don't use a gun for that. We don't use threats for that. Whenever we're having an attitude or an issue with anybody, it's because we're trying to force someone to be a certain way. You can't force love on people. You can't force humility on people. You can help people's hearts to get there first by your own example, right? First by your own example, and then calling others to follow that example as well. Paul knew that when he wrote this letter. He said, "This is a great idea. You guys are a great example here, but I'm going to give you guys an illustration of what it looks like lived out." Point number 2, Jesus made himself nothing to be worthy of everything. Continue our reading here in Philippians chapter 2. You know, Paul, he knows that a mere list of virtues or an explanation of concepts is not enough to truly understand what it means to follow Jesus. The Bible ain't no communist manifesto, and so this is what's known as the Christ gift. Now, people aren't sure if this is a song that Paul had heard about, and he's writing it down, or if it's a poem that he just wrote just for this letter. Either way, it's awesome. Check it out. Verse 5. This is one of the most profound Christological passages in the entire Bible, talking about Jesus, his humanity, and who he is. Verse 5. Your attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself, and became obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore God exalted him to the highest place, and gave him the name that is above every name, that the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Amen. That's powerful right there. That's seething and eager, reeking with power right here. We see here an increased humiliation, followed by increased exaltation. Woo! Is what we see here. Things get worse and worse for Jesus. He gets more and more humble. And then God lifts him higher and higher to the highest level of all time. Amen. The king over everything. Come on, bro. This is powerful stuff here. Jesus was not only God in appearance, he was God in nature. He was God in his attitude. He was God in his character. He was God in his behavior, in his interaction with the people that were around him. He was God in the flesh lived out. Amen. Powerful stuff. He gave up everything, it says here, to experience the same struggles, weaknesses, and trials that we have. Wow. He made himself nothing, became worthy of the highest honor. People ask, what would Jesus do as the church WWJD? What would Jesus do in this situation? Now I have to think about that. What would Jesus do if he was sitting in traffic right now in the middle of the construction, right? He'd be like, I'm going to resurrect Moses and park that Red Sea. You know what I mean? The DMV, anybody here enjoy standing around the DMV in Kona? Anybody enjoy that? I didn't think so. What would Jesus do if he was standing in that line? Huh? I know what he'd do. Probably, I'd probably resurrect Michael Jackson. Everybody's like, I need to see this. And the whole lot of Carol, he's in the parking lot, guys. I need to get my registration book. My electric bill is through the roof in our house. It's crazy. What would Jesus do if he saw my electric bill? It's like, next month, we're turning off electricity because I'm the light of the world. I would like this house. Free power for everybody. Jesus shows up at Marriage Bible Talk, huh? In fact, right? People dig a hole through my roof even. It says Jesus is the appearance of God, right? I always wonder what Jesus looked like. What was Jesus' appearance like, right? Some people say Jesus was a black guy, right? I imagine if Jesus showed up today, he's like a black guy. I'm like, wow. Austin was like, my man! Homie! Jesus like, what if it's teenager Jesus, right? What if it's teenager Jesus? What did he look like? What was his appearance like? I was teaching Logan, maybe, I don't know. For people, teenagers, what if he was Fabio, girly man Jesus? You know, like you see in our pictures, right? Kind of feminine looking guy with the blonde flowing hair. No, I don't. What was Jesus? What did Jesus physically look like? I don't know, but we do know what his nature was. Right? How he behaved. Some of us may have the appearance of being a Christian, but are we displaying the nature of one? Are we like Jesus in our interactions with each other? In the situations that we run into at work, when we're just at home and there's nobody around to hold you accountable, are we having and displaying Christ-like behavior in our dealings with each other, in our interactions with other people? Are we being like Jesus there? What was Jesus' nature? What was his nature? It was obedience and submission here. This is what Paul says. That was his nature. What is the nature of man? The opposite. Yeah. That's what we find a parallel between Jesus and Adam, right? We find a parallel there. And then back in the days of Adam and Eve, right? You can trace the first computer back then, right? It was an Apple computer, but it had a very limited memory. One byte and everything crashed. But in Genesis chapter 3, in verse 5, Satan convinced Adam to choose a life of disobedience and exalt himself to be like God, the passage says. To become, if you eat this fruit, you'll know what good and evil is. You'll be like God. When in reality, God already created Adam in his image. He didn't need to make decisions to exalt himself to the level of God, which is what happened here. And this is the difference between Adam and Jesus. Jesus did not exalt himself. He humbled himself. Adam tried to exalt himself to be like God, and things went very badly for all of us for the 10,000 years after that.
Yeah.
My goodness. God created us to have his appearance, his nature, and attitude and behavior. He created us that way, and we choose disobedience instead. We always try to exalt ourselves, make up our own minds about what good and evil are, what's right and wrong, when God has already showed us exactly what it is. Jesus made himself nothing. The passage would be more literally translated as emptied himself of his power. It's an action that he did. He made a choice to empty himself of his power. Chose not to exalt himself. He resisted to temptation to take what was his by right. And he chose instead obedience and submission to God. Jesus chose to not do this. He was not forced to do it. We have a choice today as well. Paul says to have the same attitude about our life and our interactions with each other as Jesus did. Paul is illustrating through Jesus' life. This is what it looks like lived out. This is the cause and effect of it. He's calling us not only to be servants of God, but servants of each other. Servants of each other. Jesus could have promoted himself to king over the humans. He could have done that. Instead, he chose to humble himself and become the least of the humans. Not the king of the humans, the least of the humans. A servant, a slave, obedient even unto death. That's gnarly. That's humbling. He uses this hymn or this poem to illustrate the cause and the effect of Jesus' humility. And this is the most important lesson that we can learn from this right now, from his example. The more humble you get before God, the more praise you will get from God. The more humble you get. Now, Jesus, of course, illustrated this concept in a parable. Those who are trusted with little will be given much. Now, for sure, our motive can't come from, I will humble myself so God will make me great and give me a lot. If that's our motive, it's impure. And God will see right through that. And nothing will happen. It's a false humility.
Yeah.
I will be humble, obedient, and loving because I am grateful for Jesus to give his life for me. I will be humble so that God can use me for something great. How many people have prayed that prayer? Please, God, use me for something great. We want God to use us. But then all of a sudden, when the leader of the church says social missions is coming up, he's like, I don't want to go tagging. I don't want to do another fundraiser. Use me for something great to spread Christianity around the world. God's answering your prayer. We must empty ourselves of everything that's not pleasing to God. All of our heart sins have got to be gone. All the pride, the selfishness, the criticalness, the bitterness, the worry, the fear, the anxiety, the depression. We've got to get that stuff out of our heart. We've got to get it out of our heart. All these heart sins, they stem from one thing, a lack of trust. A lack of trust in God's plan for our lives. Where does a lack of trust come from? Why do we have a lack of trust? Well, it comes from a lack of love. A lack of love. Paul wrote in another place, love always trusts. Love always trusts. Rather than exercising his power, Jesus showed his love. In that way, he loved God so much that he trusted God's plan. And God's plan was awesome. Whenever we're having a hard time in our life, we're thinking about and tempting to be given up, It's because we're not trusting God's plan. And if we're not trusting God's plan, it's because we don't truly love God. He gave His Son for us, and it was a good plan. Do you think God has a bad plan for your life? Do you think Jesus, as He was getting arrested, thought God had a bad plan for His life? No! He knew it was the only plan. The only plan. You know, Charlie Chaplin said, you need power only when you want to do something harmful. Otherwise, love is enough to get things done. Rather than seeking power, praises from men, recognition, status, we should just show love. Like Jesus. He didn't seek anything but showing love. That's what Paul is like just really trying hard to illustrate to the church here. You guys are amazing. You guys are united. You guys are loving. You guys are sacrificial. Thank you so much. Continue to be like Jesus and be loving. If you really love God, you'll really trust Him, becoming obedient even unto death. Point number 3. A shining star on a dark world is worthy to God. Continue to read in Philippians chapter 2. Verse 12, the Bible says, therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you to will and to act according to His good purpose. Do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God, without fault in a crooked and depraved generation, in which you shine like stars in the universe, as you hold out the word of life, in order that I may boast on the day of Christ, that I did not run or labor for nothing. But even if I am being poured out like a drink offering on the sacrifice and service coming from your faith, I am glad and rejoice with all of you, so you too should be glad and rejoice with me. So I talk what's called eschatology, talking about consequences of sin and eternal damnation in hellfire. And fear is a great motivator of that, there is no doubt. We should fear the consequences of living a life of sin apart from God, because there is a consequence to that. People like to think there's no consequence for their behavior if they're not harming anybody else. But let me tell you, everything that you don't do that's good, everything that you do that's bad, is a consequence. And you're hurting somebody, including yourself or your relationship with God. But the Bible says here that God works in us for a really good purpose. He's looking for an outcome, a good purpose. He goes on to say that each of us individually, we need to sort out our own salvation with fear and trembling. But don't grumble about it. Don't do anything with grumbling or complaining. You can't shine like a star if you're a grump about it, right? If you're a grump about your salvation, you can't shine like a star. See, the world is dark. It's dark out there. It's crooked. It's depraved. And we got to be something different than the world. We got to be fired up about our salvation and shining like a star in the universe over a lost, dark, and fallen world. Because that's what we are. We need to be joyful about it. Last week we talked about some of the darkness that's prevalent in the world. The poor little girl that got raped and murdered. The people that got all shot up in the bar. Right? There's a fire right now in California. 1,000 people are missing. Over 100 confirmed dead. Nearly 200,000 acres burned. That's gnarly. There's a lot of bad things happening in the world today, isn't there? Yeah. Today we got the communists, right? We got the Nazis of yesterday, radical Islam. They're trying to destroy our planet and everybody in it. I'm glad to be an American in a country that fights this moral filth. I am glad for that. I love it. There is always going to be wickedness in the world. Always going to be injustice. Jesus said the poor will always be amongst you. There's always going to be bad in the world. And we need to shine like stars in that dark world. Because America, as a country fighting Nazism or radical Islam or communism, that's not going to really solve it. Because they're using swords against swords. The only thing that's going to solve it is us shining like stars in this dark world. Yeah. That we can make a difference in eternity living a life worthy of the gospel of Christ. Because the government's not going to solve this problem. Paul talks about Judgment Day. and how he hopes this church will be those shining stars in this dark world. He talks about that judge is going to come. Every knee is going to bow. Every tongue is going to confess. He says, I hope you guys are there. I hope you lived a life worthy and that I didn't run this race for nothing and do all this stuff for you guys. Is what Paul is saying to his church. I hope you guys are there. What's he talking about running this race for nothing, you know? Our life is a race that we're running. Our life is a race we're running, but it's not just us individually. That's not what it's about. You know, in 1967, there was a 20-year-old lady. Her name was Catherine Switzer. She made history. She finally became the first woman to officially run in the Boston Marathon. It was illegal for women to run in marathons. And so what she did was she signed up for the race with her initials, so no one would know it was a woman signing up. And she snuck on in with her boyfriend, and they were running the marathon. About 2 miles into the marathon, one of the officials noticed that there was a woman running in the race. And he ran out into the race and tried to tackle her and tried to strip her thing off, the numbers off of her jersey, yelling at her, there's no women running in this race, get off of my track. He's yelling at her, and you see the pictures, right? And you see her boyfriend come in from the side and just nail this guy. Took him out! Cleaned his clock! It was awesome! It was awesome! And she finished the race. And she got in big trouble. She got in big trouble. She got banned from all racing in America. She went to Canada, started her own female race circuit over the years. Millions of women all over the world joined her marathons and raced. Until finally the Americans wised up and let women race alongside the men in marathons. Thank God for her. And that was incredible. But you know the hero of this story is? Her boyfriend. Her boyfriend protecting her so they could finish the race together. I saw that boyfriend, I was like, man, that guy's awesome. Didn't even record his name, he was a nobody. She got famous, he's a nobody. That's how I want to be that nobody. Helping other people finish the race. That's all I'm just hoping. I'm not looking for praise or honor or glory from man. I just want to help you all finish the race. Amen. You know what I mean? Jesus was this way towards the women. He lifted them up and had them as part of the integral parts of his ministry. Going against society and all the social norms, Jesus was awesome. And we have awesome sisters in our church, and I want to lift them up. What Lynn does for Mercy and Tiffany does for our family, the girls in the Bible talks, my wife, oh my gosh, so much. Connie, always bring me my favorite desserts, the Bible talk. But we have awesome sisters in our church that are very noteworthy, living a life worthy of the gospel. Thank you, sisters. You guys are amazing. To be a true shining star in this dark world, we need to be the hero for the oppressed and for the downtrodden. Not just the sisters, but everyone. Because this race is not just about us. In this race to heaven, they're not handing out participation trophies. You've got to finish the race and win. But not just yourself. You got to help other people get there. I love those videos of marathons. People running races and they're running and they get injured or they get exhausted and they start to trip and stumble and fall. And the other members of the race are trying to win too, but they're like, someone's hurt, I'm going to help them. I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. I'm going to give up the #1 first place championship here to help this injured person get there too. And we're going to make it together. Every time I see that, I get fired up. I think that's what Christians are. We're not trying to beat our fellow brothers and sisters to the finish line. We're trying to help our fellow brothers and sisters get to the finish line and get the victory as well. And Ayn Rand said, a creative man is motivated by the desire to achieve, not to beat others. Fighting off Satan can be exhausting, and if we're competing with each other, we're going to get taken out. Sometimes he's going to exhaust you and trip you up with sin and temptation, and you're going to start collapsing. We need to step in as brothers and sisters and punch Satan in the back of the head and take him out. When we see him trip up our brothers and sisters, he wants to strip us of our God-given right to finish this race. He wants to strip us of that right. When I die, my prayer is that all of hell rejoices because I am out of the race. My prayer is that to each and every one of you as well. Amen. And in closing, Philippians 2, verse 19. I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon, that I also may be cheered when I receive news about you. I have no one else like you, who takes a genuine interest in your welfare. For everyone looks out for his own interests, not those of Jesus. But you know that Timothy has proved himself, because as a son with his father, he has served with me in the work of the gospel. I hope, therefore, to send him as soon as I see how things go with me. And I am confident, Lord, that I myself will come also. But I think it is necessary to send back to you Epaphroditus, my brother, fellow worker, and fellow soldier, who is also your messenger, whom you sent to take care of my needs. For he longs for all of you and is distressed because he heard he was ill. Indeed, he was ill and almost died. But God had mercy on him, and not on him only, but also on me, to spare me sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore, I am all the more eager to send him, so that when you see him again, you may be glad, and I may have less anxiety. Welcome him in the Lord with great joy, and honor men like him, because he almost died for the work of Christ, risking his life to make up for the help he could not give me. Well, he goes out this part of his letter here, lifting up some awesome, encouraging brothers, Epaphroditus and Timothy. This is awesome. He says, I'm going to send these guys to you, because you guys sent Epaphroditus to me, and I'm going to come to you also. And you see what we have here are some brothers, some awesome Christians that have been living a worthy life. And he's using them to send and give encouragement, and to give help, and to give gifts for the good of everybody. This is awesome. We have here when we live a life worthy of the gospel, we do something with it. We're sent out. We come and we go to get things done. These guys were unified, and they were living a life worthy of the gospel, emptied themselves in obedience and submission like Jesus, and trusted in God's plan and the plan of the leadership of the church. They're shining like stars in a dark world, used by God to help others run the race as well. They weren't a handful of individual Christians doing their own thing. They were a family of believers doing God's will. And I want to lift up Austin. He is like my Timothy. He really is like my Timothy. I can trust Austin going into any situation in the ministry. I can send him to a situation. I can send him to a job site even to get stuff done. And as our church matures, and as our church grows numerically, we're going to grow geographically as well. I would love to put house churches and Bible talks on the outreaches of the island. I would love to send disciples from this group to go to Maui, the mission team next year. And they're going to be asking for people to go. But are you living a life worthy of the gospel? Because I'm not sending people. If you're not living a worthy life now, you won't handle going to a far outpost off by yourself. You've got to live a life worthy now. And I know that all of you can and will. 2,000 years later, we're talking about these guys. They made an impact in eternity with their example of living a worthy life. So much more impactful than throwing free throws and making touchdowns. Much more impactful than cars and light bulbs, right? Much more impactful. 2,000 years later, millions upon millions and millions of people have read this. Millions of people are impacted by the example of these guys. And this same church, right here, Philippi, that's the church we're a part of today. Amen. This is us. They changed the world, and so will we. I love you guys all.